Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Crazy title today, Be Better Than Sodom. I'm talking about the old city, Sodom paired with Gomorrah. All right, let me start here. What would you give your right arm for? How about a visit from Jesus? Well, what if Jesus didn't come just to visit, but he came to stay, to live? What if he lived nearby you for years? Well, such is the blessing of a town called Capernaum. It's a place in Galilee, the region that Jesus specifically settled for his whole ministry life. So leaving Nazareth from in the south, he went and lived in Capernaum by the sea. It's on the very north part of the Sea of Galilee. So Capernaum got the most hours of Jesus, or the most ministry hours for sure. Now the question is, does it get the best response to Jesus? And then we'll see at the end, how does it compare to Sodom? So this may surprise you that there is not always a direct relationship to the volume of interaction with Jesus to the volume of response to Jesus. You'd think that more Jesus results in more response to Jesus. But that amount of exposure that Capernaum got is not always proportional to the amount of response to him. So in this truth, there is a great warning for us. So that's where we're going to leave it today. So Capernaum was the town that proved this ratio wrong. Capernaum had the most exposure of any place on earth, more than Jerusalem, more than Egypt, more than Bethlehem. Perhaps Nazareth had more, but not during his ministry years and his preaching and teaching time. So it's remember when Jesus went back to Nazareth during his ministry time, they literally tried to throw him off a cliff. So stay with me. So geographically, Capernaum had the most exposure to Jesus than any other place. So why is it not the center of earthly holiness? Why isn't there a direct relationship between the quantity of exposure to Jesus and the quality of the response, which would be obeying, yielding, receiving, following, walking with, believing in, submitting to, and then serving and fellowshipping and doing all those other activities? So here's the hook for us. Perhaps we have had a great amount of exposure to Jesus by our parents or by nature or those who have served us in the church. And is our response to Jesus proportional to our knowledge? Does our answer to him compare to the grace that he's provided? Will our agreement and submission reflect this aggregate mercy that has been extended towards us? So let's look at Capernaum's response to Jesus living there for probably years during his ministry. This is from a little bit down the road in Matthew chapter 11, verse 23. And you, Capernaum, will you be exalted to heaven? You going to win the prize? You will be brought down to Hades. For if the mighty works done in you had been done in Sodom, it would have remained to this day. So he's saying, Capernaum, are you going to be a good example here or of responding or not? No, you're actually a great disappointment, and judgment awaits. And here is how you compare. The most notorious city of all time, Sodom, if they had had the blessings that you got, if the mighty works done in you had been done there, they wouldn't have been destroyed. Why? Because they would have walked through the door of repentance with all that exposure. And Jesus is saying this, I'm giving you, Capernaum, every spiritual blessing to respond to. And what do I get on your side? Nothing. Crickets. Crickets from the heart. I'm hearing nothing from you. Are you, so here, this is for us now. Are you Capernaum? I know you're not a city, but do you have the exposure that you should be responding? Has the Lord laid on your heart some area of belief or obedience that you have conveniently set this aside? Maybe your anger or purity, your courage, or your faithfulness in fellowship, or your zeal for service, or your dedication to prayer. Has he called you like he did Capernaum and heard nothing from you? Crickets. Has your response been proportional to what he has given you? So think about what Jesus said about Capernaum. Sodom would have done a better job if it had the blessings that you had. Sodom would be better than you. So It's crazy, but Sodom is used as a good example in the story here today by comparison in Matthew chapter 11. So here's the truth that you probably won't hear in the history of Christendom, that Sodom would have done better than you. And kind of the call is, hey, I want you, Jesus is saying to the Capernaumites, I want you to do at least as good as Sodom, and you haven't. Here it is. For if the mighty works done in you had been done in Sodom, it would have remained to this day. So Sodom is better than, has responded better than Capernaum, or would have responded better than Capernaum. So let's not be the Capernaum in the story, which is lots of exposure and little response. So let's be like Sodom. I know it's crazy to say. Sodom would have responded rightly. It would have started with conviction. It would have started with repentance. Then it would have started with the fruit of repentance, which is doing something with your feet and your hands and your mouth. So here's the crazy truth of today, is Sodom is better than Capernaum. So in a sense, let's be like Sodom, not like Capernaum. Thanks for listening.